symptom treatment regime that prompted it. The professional arsenal mobilized around that fear. The skill of the physicians in pain and symptom management was such that routinely dying people rarely came to the point of the unendurable. Their worst fears never materialized, and yet they were routinely treated with antidepressants, and at the 11th hour, with a degree of sedation that often made them inert. Patient resting comfortably was often a euphemism for slack-jawed and drooling. They were diagnosed with something called terminal agitation, a degree of frank existential turmoil that had rarely shown itself in the early stages. By the end, it was unhinging them, even though the end was well known and practiced and discussed and utterly no surprise. Something worse than pain fears had come to claim them, most of them. There was no treatment for it, because there was no diagnostic category for it, and because it seemed that no one on the professional end went looking for it. I wrote about this in Die Wise. It might have been the reason that I wrote the book at all. It turned out that dying people feared most the likelihood that they would disappear in every sense of the word, and that fear drove them to the cliff edge of sanity and lucidity and beyond. If they were old by the time that they were dying, many already had enough practice in being all but invisible. It was and remains a reasonable fear to have. So there were legions of dying people, and there were skilled, trained, professional people paid to care for them. There were the clear, though sedated signs that things were not going well, especially at the end of people's lives. And people older in the work and older in life than I were assuring all who listened that everything was in hand, that there was, yes, room for improvement, but that the proper hands were at the wheel. We had our marching orders. We were to deliver on everyone's right to a quieted, reined-in, dignified, managed death. We had more practice models to guide us than we knew what to do with. There was little practice wisdom to reconcile death trade workers with what the onslaught of big pharma technological innovation was doing to dying people's expectations of us. We were in the death-prolonging business unawares, and that confounded what we expected of ourselves. We were in the customer satisfaction business in a culture that detested dying. And we were professionally and culturally elderless. There is more palliative care and hospice care and end-of-life care and whatever else it gets called than there has ever been in North America. And I suspect there is more terminal anxiety and thrashing in the midnight hour and sedation than there has ever been. So let that settle in for a moment. Something about the accumulating professional expertise and front-page yammer about dying is not translating into an increasing capacity to die wise and well in the general population. There is the new self-appointed parallel universe of conscious or positive end-of-life care hankering after their place in the mainstream. There are more books on the subject. I've contributed to that. More talk shows about it. I've been on a pile of them myself. And more death literacy, often of the casual kind, than ever. And yet this is not translating into a way of dying that doesn't need palliative care and psychotherapy and past life regression and antidepressants and sedation and medically assisted death and die wise.